I watched 5 disturbing movies, and I'm going to give you my spoiler-free thoughts. I'm going to rank these films from what I thought the worst was to the best. Of course, these are my opinions, so, you know, we each have our own opinions. And if you like this video and it gets like 10 likes or something, I'll make a part 3 fairly quickly. Though, to be honest, I'll make a part 3 anyway, but it'll be a little bit later. And that's right, this is a part 2, kind of. I went over 4 other disturbing films recently. I'll put that video in the link in the description. This is going over 5 other disturbing movies. So with that, let's get to the list. At 5th place, I put Martyrs, a young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tortured her as a child, leads her and her best friend, also a victim of child abuse, on a terrifying journey into the hell of depravity. Okay, I know putting this film in 5th place is going to have a lot of people angry, and I understand that, but to be honest, I just wasn't a big fan of this film, and I want to give you my honest opinions on these films. But before I say a lot of my thoughts on this film, I do need to preface something really quick. Before watching this film, I already knew about the iconic scenes. I knew about the ending, so I, definitely was spoiled. And while I think the story is interesting, I will say like the concept at least is interesting. How the directions it goes, I think that's interesting. But I was just really bored when watching this film. I just like from the beginning I was a little interested, and then it just slowly the interest left. And what sucks is I don't completely know why that's the case. And it might have been because I already knew a lot about this film, or the fact that this was the second film I watched in a day, which I don't think either of those is necessarily the case, because coming up there's going to be 2 other films that I liked much more, and I already knew about specific scenes, not exactly the ending, but still specific scenes. And also, I just watched It Chapter 2, like, as a third film that day, and I enjoyed that film. Too long, by the way, but I enjoyed it. At first, it just didn't. This I'm gonna sound like a twisted person for this, and if you think that like I'm a twisted person for saying this, I can't even argue because I didn't find this film very disturbing. I think there's a couple scenes that were a bit disturbing, but they didn't bother me. I mean, it's a lot of there's blood, but it's not like that doesn't typically affect me. I don't think there are situations where that does, but I feel like they have to do it specifically in a certain way, because the way they do it in like Talk to Me when there is the violent scene, if you've seen the film, that bothers me. That gets to me. This just wasn't the case. I watched it and I just kind of I wasn't really disturbed. I don't know why exactly. There was like one scene I can think of in like a bathroom that was a bit disturbing, but I don't know. It didn't disturb me much. And I did watch the original Martyrs. I didn't watch the remakes. And also towards the end, there was these specific scenes going on that just kind of felt repetitive and too long. I was already kind of tired of this film. And to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about this film. I really wanted to like it, like I really did. Like I was pretty excited for it, but I just couldn't get into it. Maybe if I eventually rewatch it, I'll change my mind. The next 2 films are pretty much tied in my opinion. The 4th film is Playground 2016. It's the end of the school year, and today's the last day for 12-year-old Gabrisha to tell her classmate that she has fallen in love with him. She sets up a secret meeting and blackmails the boy to show up. But what was supposed to be an intimate talk spins out of control and leads to an unexpected ending. I can't say I fully understand this film or the full picture of it. It's loosely based on a true story, which that alone is kind of disturbing. I personally didn't find this film crazy disturbing. There were 2 specific scenes that I did find disturbing. The one at the end the most. It has a taboo that it does that is one of the taboos that does bother me. I can't really get into that what that taboo is without spoiling the film. You kind of have to go into this film pretty much blind. Those 2 scenes are disturbing. The rest of it, you're kind of going through these kids' lives, and it's kind of boring. I sound like a downer, but like it had a hard time getting into this film. There are those 2 shocking moments. That's true, but I don't know. I just couldn't get into this film. I swear this film has a deeper meaning to it, but I'm not fully sure about what it is. I have an idea, but I don't know for sure. Number 3 is called An American Crime. A true story of suburban housewife Gertrude, who kept a teenage girl locked in her basement of her Indiana home during the 1960s. Okay, I have mixed thoughts on this film. While it is technically based on a true story, it definitely changes a couple of things. You'll know if you've seen the film, specifically some of the things they do with the main girl in this film. Definitely wasn't what actually happened. I don't know how to exactly explain without spoiling. If you've watched the film, you probably know what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to explain without spoiling. I also just don't know how much of this is based on a true story. I've looked into the case a tiny bit. The case is more disturbing than the film, in my opinion, because I don't know, it's real. I mean, this film is based on a real story, but learning about the case a bit was more disturbing for me. I'm gonna be honest. There was like one scene that was decently disturbing to me. I don't know, maybe I'm a messed up person, but I wasn't disturbed. Like the case is awful. Like it's horrible, but I just wasn't that disturbed. Okay, these last two films, I would say I personally did enjoy them quite a bit. Number two is Speak No Evil. A Danish family visits a Dutch family they met on a holiday. What was supposed to be idyllic weekend slowly starts unraveling as the Danes try to stay polite in the face of unpleasantness. This is another film that I need preface. I've seen the remake to this film, and I knew the ending of this film before I watched it. That being said, I actually enjoyed this film. It's kind of fun to see some of the similarities and the differences about this film and its remake. I personally enjoyed the remake more. This is like a darker and more twisted version of that story. The remake is definitely not as dark. I wouldn't say this film is necessarily the most disturbing. It is pretty uncomfortable though, or at least in my opinion. There is a scene towards the end which is known for being pretty disturbing. I would say, yeah, probably. It didn't bother me too bad. And the first place is when evil lurks. When brothers Pedro and Jimmy discover that a demonic infection has been festering in a nearby farmhouse, they attempt to evict the victim from their land. Failing to adhere to the proper rites of exorcism, their reckless actions inadvertently trigger an epidemic of possession across the royal community. Okay, this is my favorite film out of them all. I already knew two of the iconic scenes, but even then, I still really like this film. It definitely had some disturbing scenes. None of them were like crazy disturbing to me, but still pretty disturbing. And there was a gross design, especially mostly shown towards the beginning, that I really liked. And I will say I found the first half of the film more disturbing. There was more. The moments that I knew about were in the first half, and I just found those scenes a bit more disturbing. But I will say I did enjoy this film the most out of all these films. That's gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to make a part 3 to this eventually. I don't want to, make only disturbing content. That is definitely not what I want to do. I want to talk about mostly horror in general, but sometimes I like to watch some disturbing media. It's kind of fun to see why it's so disturbing. It's interesting at least. So if you like this video, I would definitely do a part 3 within the next 2 weeks or so. If this video gets like 10 likes, or you say in the comments that you really want to see that, then I'll definitely do that for you guys. I'm going to be going over the Chucky franchise starting the week that this video is released on Thursday. You'll get the first review for probably Child's Play 1, Child's Play 2, and then every week you'll get a Child's Play review that usually goes over 2 movies. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on these films if you've seen them, and bye.